And we are live, everyone. Thanks for joining us live for a new episode of the Electric Podcast. I am Fred Lambert, your host, and I'm joined by Seth Wintrow. Is everything working, Seth? You're good?
Yeah, we had a little problem. I'm up here in Whistler Mountain with the family today, so some Wi-Fi issues, but we're back in action.
Yeah, Seth is working mobile right now, which is probably why his audio is not as it usually is. And then we're sorry for the little bit of a delay, like 12 minutes behind to make it happen. But we have a good show for you guys today, so I hope you can still join us live or listen up later. And if you do, and you do enjoy the show, and only if you do, of course, please give us a thumbs up on your podcasting app, on your streaming app, or a 5-star review. That always helps too. So let's jump in because there's actually a lot of news this week that came out. Oh, I should say, by the way, if you were listening to the podcast last week and I told you I was going to check out the ID Buzz in Europe, I did. It was awesome. I came back and I cannot talk about the driving impression though until next week or maybe even the week after that. It's September 7th. So it's going to be a little bit of a while before I release my review of it. But stay tuned for it because it's very fun vehicle, very unique, a lot of character, a lot of personality in the vehicle. Just a little bit, a long time. I'm gonna have to wait for it. No, I'm not talking about my review. I'm talking about the actual vehicle here in North America. It's gonna be till 2024, but the deliveries in Europe, if you're listening from to us from Europe, deliveries are starting in the next few weeks. So all right. Speaking of Europe, they get all the goodies first, and the Model Y standard range or rear-wheel drive, however you want to call it, the cheaper Model Y is what it really is. A lot cheaper. Just launched in Europe, and we had that last year briefly in North America. Tesla made the standard range available, just a smaller battery pack and rear-wheel drive motor, and then took it away within weeks and then of course launched it in China where it was being built at Gigafactory Shanghai, and it has been available since then, of like now for over a year in China, and I think it's probably the most popular version of the Model Y there. We still haven't seen it come back to the US or Canada, but now it's coming to Europe, and it's interesting. So you look at the specs, okay, very similar to what we were used to with the standard range. So we were talking about 455 kilometers of range, which is the equivalent to 283 miles, which sounds a lot for the standard range, but of course, this is a WLTP, so closer to 240 to 30 um, if it was EPA. 217 kilometers top speed, 0 to 100, which is 62 miles per hour, and 6.9 seconds, so a lot slower than the current long range version. And of course, like the two only version that Tesla is selling right now in North America is the long range and the performance version, which are basically the same cars, same powertrain at least, with just a little bit more capacity unlocked in the performance version, and you a few different options like different wheels and whatnot. But yeah, the big kicker is obviously the price here. The price, it starts in some markets with different market in Europe, different taxes and whatnot. But in the Netherlands, for example, it starts at 50,000 euros. So that's 16,000 euros less than the Model Y long range, and it's even cheaper than the Model 3 than the base Model 3 in Europe, which makes no sense because Tesla was always talking about the Model Y costing about $5,000 more than the Model 3. Um, yeah, and so 50,000 euros. And by the way, for reference to our US listeners, the euro and the dollar right now is basically at parity. So this is like $50,000, but that includes a VAT of over $8,000. So it's like a $42,000 Model Y that they have there, which very attractive. Like this thing is gonna sell like crazy, but it's not coming until December through February. That's the new order delivery timeline as of right now. So now the real question is like, where is this car coming from? So the quick thought would be like, obviously this is coming from China, from Gigafactory Shanghai. It would be LFP battery cells, and that's how they get that price so low and everything. And even though Tesla started production at Gigafactory Berlin, most of the volume coming to Europe is still vehicles imported from China for Tesla. However, what throws a wrench into this whole thing is that there's been these rumors that, and it's not just rumors. Some part of that is confirmed. The fact that BYD is supplying batteries to Tesla, though we don't know when and where. But there was rumors recently coming out of China that BYD was supplying those Blade LFP iron phosphate battery cells to Tesla, not in Shanghai but in Berlin, to produce a new standard range version of the Model Y. So this might be that. This might be um, Berlin built Model Y with BYD LFP cells coming out of China. This might be I cannot. It's not a confirmation on anything, but it looks likely at this point. Other than that, it would be just from Model Y built in Shanghai. We probably won't know until a few months when these things get delivered, or maybe there's going to be some certification process before that that's going to confirm it, most likely. But it's something to keep an eye on because this is interesting. But
And do we think these are going to be? You said the Blade batteries from BYD. Is it going to require a different form factor for the battery pack?
I mean, the LFP battery pack, we're already using the pouch cell format. So the Blade is basically a pouch cell. It's just a very, very long pouch cell. So I don't think it's going to be a widely different pack. And Tesla already using like very like big big and few modules in the Model 3 Model Y. So I'm sure they have to do different packaging of the modules since you're going from a cylindrical format to a pouch or prismatic cell format. But this is it should be that new from the already existing LFP that Tesla has been producing in Shanghai really for the Model Y, and everywhere else for the Model 3 for the standard range. You already all LFP pouch cells. So yeah, so that's really interesting, and obviously the thing that people know, just like the ID Buzz, is that is this gonna come to the US, and if so, when? Because obviously this vehicle could be very popular in the US, and you know what? I think it will. I think if Tesla can get their hands on enough LFP cells, we should see a Model Y, cheaper Model Y being built Gigafactory Texas at some point, just like the version right now that they're building with the 4680 cells is shorter range and everything. So I think this is a possibility. However, with the new package, the new IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, and all the restriction regarding the battery components and the critical minerals, it it might make more sense for Tesla to try to have local production of LFP cells before they do that. So that could delay things. But you know what? Maybe a 4680 with LFP chemistry, if that's possible, you do that, and you not only get a cheaper standard range Model Y, but you get a $7,500 tax credit on top of that, and now you get potentially a less than $40,000 Model Y, which, as you can imagine, would you couldn't produce enough even if you produce like 2 millions a year. But yeah, that's something to keep an eye on. All right, new Tesla update that came to the vehicle this week, or at least more vehicles. There was some of these features that already started to roll out in the last few months, but this thing we've been waiting for a long time is the Tesla profiles, which is basically just taking your driver profile into the cloud, so that you can move them around for different vehicles, especially with the context of now Tesla rentals being a lot more popular with the Hertz deal. And I know that Tesla vehicles are also super popular on Turo, but I don't know if you could implement that on Turo, but probably. So all of your settings, now your driver setting, including even like mirror settings, seating, steering wheel settings, all your autopilot preference, climate preference, navigation history, like your favorite and all that, that can all be transferred to a new car through the Tesla profile that are now cloud based. So this is a very probably unique development to Tesla again. Like I don't know any other company that does that. Are you muted? Said you want to say something?
Yeah, just it's interesting that they can do that from like go from a Model X to like a Model 3. It's a totally different car. It's like a much bigger car, Model X. How would it do like the mirrors? Like how would it know the mirrors? I guess
I
maybe
would assume that there's a settings that knows if it's the model that this doesn't apply, like the mirrors and the settings, they would cancel that and only use like your autopilot preference and your media preference, navigation preference, most likely.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could even like remember, like if you have that only applies to Model S and Model X, but like your suspension settings based on navigation, like if you get into your
Right.
driveway and you want to lift up your car, like, I don't know if you remember that between different cars, that would be pretty impressive. You can move now, and that has been released a few cars, and now it's reaching a lot more vehicles. By the way, I should say what's the 2022.24, that's the software. No, that's the 24.5. So I know that 2024, not a lot of people have been getting it, and now with the version 24.5, a lot more, this is being distributed to many more cars, including the blind spot. So was it a year or two ago Tesla introduced that when you use your turn signal, the side camera show up on your screen so that you can use it to have a blind spot viewer, basically. Now you can drag it around to a preferred spot in the screen. So this is obviously very useful for a Model 3, Model Y user with only the center screen. You can move that and know exactly where you want it. The ability to disable sounds from the Sentry mode. So this is useful too if you can choose not to bother your neighbors if like people get too close to the car or something. A few other little goodies that were in there, small changes that were undocumented and not in the release note. That means is the ability to uninstall video games. So the Tesla's video games library has been increasing a lot lately, and there's limits on the hardware, on the memory of the computer. Now you can remove some of the games that you don't use. Assuming that Tesla's probably going to release more soon, and you're going to have to limit what you can and what you can play with.
That was my thought as well.
Yeah.
Especially if they're going to do Steam and stuff like that.
Yeah, on my gaming computer, I have too many Steam games I don't play. So now you're gonna have the same problem on your Tesla. The only other change was also you have a timestamp now on your tire pressure readings. So it can be useful. Like you click on it and like maybe you're worried about your tire pressure and you pull up the service screen and it tells you exactly when you took the pressure last, so that you can make sure that you're not losing pressure or something. All right, we have an interesting update on the smear campaign that Dan O'Dowd, the billionaire from California, has been running on Tesla FSD beta. So for people that aren't caught up to it, it's this guy has ran a Senate campaign that he ended up losing, but using the security of freedom of speech that comes with political ads. He started running ad campaign focusing on Tesla full self-driving beta, and his clear goal is to have it removed from U.S. roads. That's what he said, and he's set out to make it look bad, basically, and to make it look bad, he ran these tests where the car he had, the Model 3, basically hit mannequin children, like dummy children, and not dumb children, like an actual dummy. Uh, and yeah, he released that earlier this month, and we did a report on it because I saw a bunch of significant inconsistencies with the test and the ad. The ad itself, the biggest inconsistency in it is that it shows them activating FSD beta and it doesn't activate for whatever reason. You can clearly see it in the ad. The only time that they show the activation of FSD beta, it does not engage. So that's weird to start with, and but then they released additional footage that didn't make the ad, where you do see FSD beta being engaged successfully this time. But then the video from where you can see it engage doesn't match at all the test result that they release. So it does hit the dummy, but not at the speed they're talking about. So there's significant inconsistencies in the test result and the footage. And probably the biggest issue and the most suspicious issue, because they're not discussing it, is that to all of the footage, including the one where you show FSD beta being engaged, there's always this big alert, this system alert at the bottom of it, and the video is conveniently not high resolution enough or blurry enough at that depth that we cannot read the warning. So this warning could be a problem. Like it could literally be a warning where automatic emergency braking is disabled, or a lot of people say that it matches the same warning it says if you're pressing on the accelerator, and it tells you the cruise control will not slow down if you're pressing on the accelerator. But it is unconfirmed, and they don't want to confirm what is the warning is about. So we raised all those questions in our report. Our report went viral and everything, and Elon even retweeted it, which is weird since he's blocking us, but he's retweeting our content now. And now we learned that Tesla sent a cease and desist to the Dawn project, because O'Dowd's little smear campaign against FSD beta is called the Dawn project, which obviously its mission is not to smear Tesla officially, but to make the road safer by banning Tesla FSD. So in the cease and desist, funny enough, the Tesla quoted our report in it, which O'Dowd doesn't like. He's been on Twitter calling me a moron, calling me a liar, saying that I fabricated the story and everything like that. And I want to be as clear as I can be. Like, we don't want to report anything that is false on Electrek. And if he can like disprove anything that I said, he's willing. He just has to answer the question. I sent him and his team those 3 points that I just discussed. I sent them very pointed, very clear questions on it, privately and publicly, and they keep not wanting to answer those questions, and he prefers to just smear our name on Twitter. It's really like it's wild, because like the guy is like, I don't know how old he is, but he has to be in his 60s or whatever. He's apparently a very successful businessman, like a billionaire, and he spends his time just like insulting. Like he sounds like a 14-year-old on Twitter, like insulting us, insulting Elon. Well, on Elon, I shouldn't say a 14-year-old, because he sounded a lot like Trump with Elon. Like he gave him like a Trump like nickname. Like he called it the master scammer. Um, but yeah, it's a very bizarre situation, and something that the media, like, so now this is being picked up like crazy in the media, especially every time you send like something like a cease and desist, the media loves that. It's like, oh, someone wants to keep something quiet, but they the media doesn't point out the fact that O'Dowd is his company Green Hills Software is basically a competitor to Tesla, and he says like it's not really a big part of the business and everything. And sure, maybe they that's kind of scary. They're kind of a big defense contractor. Like they get a lot of software for uh, like spy agencies and the U.S. Army and whatnot. But they also a big part of the business they're trying to grow is in the automotive business, where they provide software for, and they keep saying we're not trying to compete with Tesla full self-driving, because we're not building full self-driving software, we're building advanced driver assist software. Which, okay, like that's really like a cop out, because Tesla is also building ADS software. Like it just happens to also build full self-driving, and ADS is a kind of a clear step towards self-driving. uh, but what's funny too is like O'Dowd, because he puts me like, he keeps going after Omar too, and he puts me like in the same uh, like category as Omar. Like he thinks like I'm also just a Tesla super fan, and I'm just trying to defend Tesla. So he doesn't put any value in anything I say, because he just assumed that I'm just one of a Tesla like super fan trying to defend the company. But I we might have some things in common, though. That like I'm not a big fan of the full self driving beta either. Like it's just, I think his tests are completely inconsistent, and they are suspicious at best, maybe even malicious at worst. Either, because the way I see it, either doesn't um either purposefully not respond to those questions because he knows that the answers make him look bad, or he's just so entrenched in it at this point that he's just doubling down on his mistake, because they could be pure mistakes. Like I don't know. Do you have a take on this, set?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, you should toot your own horn a little bit. Like uh, Tesla's cease and desist was pretty much like kind of taking your post and putting it into a legal brief.
Yeah.
There wasn't much else to it. Um, Also, O'Dowd, like, what a weirdo! Like, 62-year-old billionaire, and does no research into like what your complaint is,
Hmm.
and just starts like anti-trolling, which I thought was really strange. Like this guy's supposed. I mean, I guess we live in a different world now or something, but so he says, I don't respect a blogger running a smear campaign against me. There's no campaign. There's no smear. It's
I
just a
wrote
very
two articles,
right.
and not even on him. I wrote them on one of the tests and one before that on the announcement of his campaign.
So he says Tesla relied on your false blog, which you still haven't corrected, to threaten legal action against me. So we're asking the questions, and he can't answer. It doesn't seem like the ball's in his court, really, or
Mm.
the ball is in his court to answer these things. And if he does, then theoretically, we could figure some stuff out. And
Yeah,
then
I
he
mean, there could be
he
like
says,
a very good reason for all of these. Probably not a very good reason. It would be like a mistake, like they screw up. Because you want to know my theory set on this, like a full bit of speculation at this point. But my theory is that they ran a bunch of tests. Like they ran this test like a bunch of times, like maybe like dozens of times, and they screw up the footage. Like they didn't match the footage with the actual result. So they set out to have a result which is hit the dummy, and they
sure,
hit the dummy three times in, I don't know, like dozens and dozens of tests. And then they're like, all right, let's just show those three tests, of course, where we hit the dummies. But then they screwed up the footage where the car doesn't actually hit the test, and they never. And obviously, it's not a scientific test if you set out to have specific result and you don't share the actual failure rate. So if it fell three times, or actually success rate for them, because the goal was to hit the dummy, then you have to see how many times it recognized it and missed it, and then you can probably start to have an idea of why it hit it for whatever reason. And maybe one of those reasons might be this warning that appears on it. Like, so at very best, it is extremely suspicious, a lot of inconsistency, and at worst, they might have manipulated FSD in order to achieve those results, which would be obviously that. Why he doesn't want to answer that is like, if that is the truth, then I think there's serious ground to sue. I would assume.
yeah. And then so finally, Dan says, recant or you'll be dragged into the litigation, assuming this isn't just another master scammer Musk bluff.
Yeah.
So I guess he thinks you're part of Musk's scheme, and which is funny because currently you're blocked because of that one story.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, I think what he's saying with that is like, oh, like if they do sue me, I'm gonna like subpoena you, like to for like to get that the what you said, like to give me like details, whatever. But like, I mean, everything is out there. Every kind of research I did on this is in those articles or on Twitter. I did post more things on Twitter too, but so like everything is out there. All I did is raise some serious questions about this test, and he consistently refused to answer those questions, both prior to postings and after posting. So I have like no remorse whatsoever about this reporting, because I gave him all the opportunity in the world to answer the question, and he refused to. So but yeah, like, and this is gonna be a good example. Like if now, like if Dan, if you're watching this, don't stop watching right now. Even though we're moving forward from your story, we're gonna still be talking about FSD, and you might love the rest of this, or talk about FSD, because I think, okay, yeah. First of all, we're gonna talk about Elon announcing, because that was last weekend, just after our last podcast. Elon announced that there's gonna be a price hike to the FSD beta, or the FSD package, really, through that's going to come. You said the date on this, September 5th. So this is coming up fast, in North America, of course, because that's where the beta is available. But it's gonna the price hike of $3,000. So if you've been following, it's a $12,000 FSD beta package right now. So that's $15,000 for the privilege of testing an incomplete software package that honestly doesn't bring a lot of now. Honestly, now it basically doesn't bring any kind of value, in my opinion, because especially with the new coming of the comeback of enhanced autopilot. So a lot of the features that were actually useful in the FSD package are now in enhanced autopilot. So of course you still get those if you upgrade from regular autopilot to FSD. you still get those, but you get those at a much higher price than enhanced autopilot. So now it's basically like the city driving stuff that you get from the FSD package in beta. Again, supposed to get better over time, sure, but as of now, based on my own experience of using it, it adds stress to driving, doesn't remove stress of driving like autopilot does on the highway. So I just don't see much value in that. And so, of course, now that my opinion, Elon's logic for increasing the price is that this is just one of many more increase to come, because he sees the value of Tesla achieving full self-driving to be much greater than $15,000. So it's kind of a way to encourage people to buy it now because it's going to be more expensive in the future. And he sees that with this 10.69 update, um, it is going to be it's going to be better and then worth more, and then that's why they're increasing the price. Now, is it worth more? uh, there are some improvement in dot 69 for sure, but there's also a bunch of people that are not happy with it. There's not, they have the same problem that was before. A lot of the big improvement is definitely the unprotected left turn, especially the one that Chuck is doing on YouTube. Uh, he himself has noted some great improvement on that front, but a lot of the same phantom braking issues, a lot of the same behavior at lower speed, like there's still a lot of issues with FSD beta that are more basic. And that's interesting because that leads us to our next topic on FSD beta, which is Elon telling one of those early FSD beta. Because right now the 10.69, as we discussed last week, only 1,000 people have it because they're doing like a slower rollout. One of them is James Locke. He goes on Twitter and he complained on Twitter. I'm going to read his complaint, which very, very mild complaint. Unfortunately, I have to say I'm still having to intervene to correct FSD beta dot 69 in my area. Still lots of work to go. I know this is probably not a popular opinion, but the focusing on the chalk complex left is getting ahead of the needs of some more basic control issues. And I agree a lot with that. Not that I have a problem like trying to get like a left turn, complicated left turn makes sense. But in my experience, there's a lot of basic, very basic control issues that you need to nail. Like that, if you want to achieve full self driving, you need to nail those. And Tesla is still far from nailing those. So I would focus on that before a complex left turn. To be honest, like unless I see like there's like no one there, I'll do a left turn at an intersection with FSD beta. But most of the time, I'll disengage and just do it myself because it's taking forever and it feels dangerous to me. So I don't do it. But if I'm just driving around normal road, taking a turn, and it doesn't take the turn correctly, then that's way more scary to me. But anyway, Elon responds, .69 is in limited release for a reason. Please do not ask to be included in early beta releases and then complain. Um, so obviously this is bad because this is disencouraging uh, feedback, like negative feedback, which I think that's kind of the job of the FSD beta tester. Now, Elon, after that, to be fair, he did clarify that he was saying that lock or lock key, and not probably lock, right? Yeah, he that he, yeah, he said that lock asked to be in the first 1,000 to get that. So it's not just it get the semantics starting to get complicated, but it's not just like early. It's a beta release, and then there's the early beta releases. This the 1069 is only an early beta release, so mostly internal employees at Tesla and a few external employees. But Luck has been FSD beta tester for a long time, so I assume that he was already in it. But he says he was actually requested to be in it, just like Chuck and Omar and all those people. Now, every people that's in the beta is requesting to be in the beta though. Like I requested to be in the beta, I was accepted. You requested to be in the beta, you haven't been accepted for whatever reason. But so everyone that is asking to be in the beta, so I don't understand his point with that, whether it's an early beta or not. And whether it's early or not early, feedback should be welcome here. And I think this is good feedback. Like Locke is saying, like, hey, I get that you want to nail Chuck's complex left turn or something. I don't know if Chuck's left turn is getting like a lot of attention on YouTube or something, and like Tesla wants to fix that. But do you think that that's going to be like more impactful? But obviously the basic control issues should be the priority here, and so I completely understand Locke's point. I don't know why Elon's, well, actually I kind of know where Elon is saying that he's having major issue with his feedback loop on Twitter right now, and he's not reacting well. Like 30,000 people like that tweet. Can you imagine that? 30,000 people were like, "Hey, good on you, Elon, for shutting down constructive criticism right there."
Yeah, it's a little discouraging for sure.
Yeah, it's for me, it's a clear example of the feedback loop that Elon has on Twitter being broken, and it's something that I've been saying for years now. And in the last 6 months, last year or so, I've been seeing a ramp up of those examples where I see the feedback loop being broken actually negatively affecting Elon and his role at Tesla. And I don't know a solution or anything. Well, probably no solution. Get off Twitter, but uh, I don't see like a clear path right now to him like stop to reverse this role here.
Do you think if he is forced to, well, if he's forced to buy Twitter or pay them out like a huge dollar figure, like $5 billion or
Mm.
something, to not buy Twitter, do you think it'll piss him off and pull him off Twitter?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, this is this is a funny
It's
one to
five
me.
billion well spent.
Yeah, I was kind of undecided about Elon buying Twitter, like where I stand on it. Like I kind of like like I do enjoy Twitter to a degree, and I did like Elon's ideas for Twitter. Most of them, I thought were good, uh, but I now that it's basically becoming a Tesla issue because you literally had, I don't know, like it's probably like 16, I think, $16 billion of Tesla shares or worth of Tesla shares sold in anticipation of buying Twitter or being forced to buy Twitter. So if this like and now if this whole thing falls through, it's $16 billion that supposedly, according to Elon, is going to go back into Tesla. So and obviously we've been also complaining about like, oh, you'll never sell Tesla share unless it's to buy a social media platform. So it's now I'm kind of torn. It's like I think Elon could improve Twitter to a degree, or at least he has a chance to. And Twitter does need improvement, in my opinion. But I also think you should focus on Tesla. This is a torn in between.
Yep, yep, yep.
All right. This we reported on some charging. This is GD Power, right? That was GD Power, I think. Yeah. So GD Power released their annual charging experience survey. So this is new. This is only 2 years old. So it's interesting. It's we see like how people feel about the charging experience based on different network. And unsurprisingly, Tesla dominates by a wide margin. So Tesla getting a score, or it's out of 1,000 of 739. A lot of people are surprised that it's not higher than that. So that's like a 74% of score, and I would probably myself give closer to an 85, 90% score to Tesla. I don't know about you.
Yeah, similar.
Yeah,
Really good on my part. I
yeah,
mean, in my experience, I've rarely run into an issue.
yeah. For me, it's more like cleanliness and maybe some amenities around some of the stations, but still very good score. But yeah, so Tesla. But if you when you compare yourself, you console yourself. 739, 739 for Tesla. The average was 674. And why it is anywhere close to Tesla is because Tesla is pulling the average way higher because the second best was ChargePoint at 644. So if it wasn't for Tesla, the average would be closer to like 500 or 600 or whatever. Um, so yeah, charge point at 644, Electrify America at 614, and EVgo dead last at 573.
And I would say ChargePoint has kind of an inherent advantage because ChargePoint is usually installed at workplace locations. They usually are, set up by people who would theoretically take care of them and have a motivation for keeping them up versus the other networks, which they're selling directly to consumers.
Yeah, ChargePoint doesn't own their own station, if I understand correctly. So This is like you said. So the incentive for people to keep up the network is like it's actually their own station that they need to keep up. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So a few interesting point here to take, in my opinion, is first of all the average went down from last year. so so it's not getting better, it's getting worse. And some of the main reason for the complaints are obviously the station being up. 72% indicated that it was due to the station malfunctioning or being out of service. So this is the biggest problem. Obviously, we've been talking about that for a while now, but and it's haven't gotten better, it's gotten worse. And one of my take to have kind of a silver lining to this is, and I've been talking about that a lot in the last few days with this trip with Volkswagen and everything, trying to just put some fear in them or something. That now that Tesla is opening, because Tesla is only for Tesla vehicles in North America, and now this survey is for North American market. Uh, Now that Tesla is going to open its supercharger network to non-Tesla owners, it's literally going to compete directly with those EVgo and Electrify America with a much better product, according to the surveys and anyone that use those networks. So this hopefully this is gonna put a lot of pressure on them. This is gonna, like, now they're gonna have a very good competitor. And if they want to keep people on their network, which they have to, if they want to create a business model that they want to have, which is to make money with vehicle charging. And the only way to do that is to have an extensive network that has a decent usage rate. And Tesla is also beating everyone on the usage rate. And now adding a fleet of non-Tesla vehicles to it, it's gonna create a lot of pressure. I think they're gonna be fine at first. Tesla's most likely gonna put some premium on non-Tesla vehicles using their network. But I think a lot of people are gonna be very willing to use to get that premium, to pay that premium just for the better experience. And over time, as they use that money and they expand the network, they might be able to control the cost better and reduce the cost. And we already know that Tesla has much lower cost for deploying new station than other network, at least according to what they put on their claims for funding, for federal funding. So I think this ultimately should be very good. Should be putting, like, creating a more competitive market. What do you think, Seth?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Tesla's, as you said, is once they uh, let other EV companies come on, it might actually lower Tesla's acceptance rate, because Tesla owners, it's very simple. You just plug it in. With other EV owners, they're going to have to go to an app, and they might not be as savvy with the whole setup. So there'll be more complaints, but overall, it'll be better for the industry. And if you can go to a Tesla network and it's fairly simple versus an EA or EVgo where you're rolling the dice, everybody's going to go to Tesla by default.
Yeah, just the uptime alone is gonna be a big game changer. Like, we don't have the actual uptime data, but well, we actually have some for Tesla. Actually, I think I put that in the next. Whoops, that's the same article. In the next one here, did Tesla release the uptime data? I didn't. I made that up. I made that up. But I've seen it at some point. It was like 99% or something. Um, Yeah, so this is for a Canadian listener. I know we have a lot of Canadian listener on the podcast. I had good news this week. I found this post from Mr. Jace Zampini, and he's the lead designer for supercharging infrastructure in Canada. And he announced on LinkedIn that they are doubling their design team. And the supercharger designers are very important. They're not designing the actual supercharger stall or anything like that. They design stations. So you need, for every project you need a supercharger designer to design the whole station, and they oversee the entire project rollout from every phase of development, from construction feasibility, due diligence, site layout, design, electric utility service requests, site permitting, cost control, project closeout documentation, the whole thing. So the more of those designers as you have, the more capacity you have to deploy new station. And Zampini announced that they are doubling the team in Canada. So they are hiring people in Toronto, Calgary, Kelowna, Vancouver, two in Vancouver. So going to grow a lot in BC, and one in Quebec. So six new designer, doubling the team to 12. Uh, that should mean a lot more stations coming up a lot faster. So good news for Canadian Tesla owners, and maybe soon Canadian Tesla non-Tesla EV owners. All right. Let's talk about this announcement yesterday about the Starlink deal with T-Mobile. So they announced that they're gonna do a direct-to-phone connection with the next generation of the Starlink satellite. So if you're not familiar with Starlinks, it's SpaceX internet-based, satellite-based internet. They have this constellation of satellites that they're building at low Earth orbit, and providing internet connectivity to consumers in mostly in rural areas. So they're not trying to compete really with fibers, but in places where the fiber don't reach, you can buy a Starlink terminal and connect to that constellation of satellite, and gets high speed internet with low bandwidth, low latency, and high bandwidth. So very good internet that so far hasn't been really available for people in rural areas. Now, on top of that, they're announcing that they are making a deal using T-Mobile's existing 5G spectrum. They're going to connect that to mid-band PCS, and basically use the Starlink network to provide not internet, phone connectivity via satellite to T-Mobile customers. Now, this is very a limited connection, so 2 to 4 megabits per cell area, so very, very, very low capacity, but it's going to be enough for sending text and making phone calls up to, I think, these like 1 or 2,000 phone calls per cell area. So this pretty good. Like, again, this is not meant to replace 5G. It's meant to use the capacity to basically have blanket coverage all around the world. So even if you're not in a direct zone where you have like full internet connectivity, you're going to still be able to get calls and to do text messages basically via satellite. So this is really cool. Now, how does this relate to Tesla? um, Dave Lee asked Elon, will Tesla cars, I'm going to read it because again, this is a one word answer from Elon. So like the question is more important than the answer, really. Will Tesla cars get this feature too in the future, to connect directly to Starlink satellite for emergency calls and texts? Elon says yes. So then a lot of people have been very confused about what that means exactly. So this is like, is it going to be a part of premium connectivity and everything? I don't think so. I think it's going to be like a new way to connect. And again, Dave Lee specifically mentioned emergency calls and text. This is not high capacity, high bandwidth internet connectivity that they have here. This is very low bandwidth. So uh, again, it would be just for emergency call and text, or like just to stay connected to a degree. More similar to, what's the OnStar? OnStar, is that what they call it? Like the GM had that, like very popular.
Yeah, GM uses OnStar, but OnStar is over LTE,
Yeah.
so you can get. I mean, but you're right, calls. I was also thinking maybe like GPS coordinates, like if your car is in a place that
Mm.
doesn't have Wi-Fi, doesn't have LTE, it would be good to have that so your car can send up its GPS coordinates to the cloud, so you can find out where your car is, or what's the other small stuff.
And if you get stranded in that location, you can get an emergency call or text and send your location. Yeah, so that's a good point. So yeah, this is not that big of a deal, I think, for Tesla. Obviously, this is more like, oh, it would make sense to have it. It would be useful, but obviously, this is more of a big deal for T-Mobile and SpaceX. It's a good partnership to have, and it's kind of a added benefit for T-Mobile customers, and also some money for SpaceX, I guess, for Starlink. All right, gonna move on from Tesla stories. I have a few non-Tesla stories to discuss this week, and then we're gonna go jump in the comment section. So if you have a comment, if you have a question for us, just put it in the comment section right now. We're gonna get to them in a few minutes. But this is an exciting one, especially for you, Seth. I know you've been looking for third row electric vehicles, and Kia is gonna be one of them with the EV9. and they announced that they're in the last phase of testing, and they released a few pictures of it, and it looks solid. Looks very it looks R1S, really like Rivian to me.
Yeah, yeah, and with a lot of people not really comfortable with Rivian as a startup,
Hmm.
this is a fantastic alternative. Kia said in the past, I don't know if this is going to stay true, but they were going to try to start this under $50,000. So that would be a big deal. The big thing, as we talked about, is third row. Out in the suburbs, you kind of need to have a third row. You need those, 7 spots for kids and their friends and whatever. So this coming out soon. I think this will be the first non-Rivian R1S third row, full size kind of like SUV that could theoretically go off road. That's really out there. We saw the EQB, and of course Tesla's Model Y and Model X have third row options. But this is kind of like the first, general, like every person type of vehicle to have that. So I think it's going to be a big deal. And frankly, I think if they're selling at $50,000, they're going to, sell as many as they can make.
Yeah, I have my doubts about $50,000, but either way, it's gonna be cheaper than an R1S, which I think Scooter said on 68,000, so $78,000 starts the R1S. So it's gonna be cheaper than that at least. Uh, and Kia, like if you compare it to the EV6, like the EV6 is pretty like not a it's not a luxury vehicle, but it's kind of a premium vehicle. So you're gonna have still a premium feel in the EV6, EV9, I should say. And so it's not gonna be like an Escalade competitor or anything like that, but it's gonna be as close as luxury as it gets. So I think it's gonna fit well with the R1S as being like more of a luxury option, and for a third row, and then you have like a little more accessible option with the EV9. But yeah, $50,000. Like when did they say that? Because everything goes up in price these days. Was it
Yeah, I
like a
think that was at the auto show when they revealed the super concepty version of this thing that had the
Mhm.
suicide doors, and like the back was basically just like a love seat couch thing.
Mhm.
So things have changed.
Yeah. Yeah, because another good example of that is the Mach-e. The order books are being reopened for the Mach-e, but it is coming with some price increases and a few different options too. That options and colors that are changing. So let's run into the update real quick. So starting this fall, premium Mach-e models will be built on Ford's extended range battery with 290 EPA range on all-wheel drive. So this means that the premium version are only going to come with extended range. I assume that's what they're trying to say here. The new Mustang Night Pony package featuring high gloss black 19-inch wheel, a black pony. Uh, I assume this is the badge that they're talking about. Black interior features, door trim, and mirror caps on the trim will be available on premium extended range model and the GT performance model. Two new colors for the Mustang include the carbonized gray metallic and vapor blue metallic. Do we have a I assume this is the blue, and this is the gray, silver, whatever. The gray metallic, yeah.
Yeah, good
And
looking cars.
yep, yeah. They replaced the dark matter gray and ice blue silver. The California Route 1 will be available to purchase with an all-wheel drive configuration. So the California Route 1, I think, was the longest range version before, but that was partly because it was only available in rear-wheel drive. So now you have all-wheel drive also available to it. The panoramic sunroof will replace the black roof on JT and GT Performance Edition. Okay. And yeah, the price increases are between $2,600 and $8,000 for the new 2023 models coming this fall. Now it starts at basically $47,000 for the select rear-wheel drive standard range, and goes up to basically $70,000 for the GT extended range version. And so if you want like an extended range, I think it's gonna start at around 55,000 dollars if you want an extended range battery. And then if you want an all-wheel drive, it starts at $50,000. Again, that's with the standard range. So those are your main price point to look for. I mean, still competitive with like a Model Y, basically, in terms of pricing, and cheaper option because they have a standard range rear-wheel drive option, obviously. All right, the EQS SUV. started to roll off the assembly line in Alabama where Mercedes is building it. Will it qualify for the tax credit? We went with that title. Obviously, it's gonna be a no. we uh, we went hard with the Birchridge law there. Always, if there's a question mark, it's a no. Obviously, the EQS starts at like what $120,000 in the US. So
It starts at just over 100, 103, I think,
okay,
for like the rear wheel drive EQS. So yes, this is probably not going to hit the 80,000.
well, I'll
Although
say
I think the 80,000 doesn't kick in until the end of the year, so maybe they
yeah,
can sort out enough of these to.
and also it's at least closer than the EQS sedan because the EQS sedan would have to reach $55,000 to get it. This is an SUV, so at least
Not
it
even
has to reach
close.
80, but it's not going to be close either. I think it's going to be probably more expensive than the EQS sedan. So, but yeah, they started production and it is starting to deliveries are going to be at the end of the year. I think in the coming months. They say the delivery timeline on this. Yeah, 102 for the sedan. Okay, we don't have actual clear delivery time. We started productions. It's just sometimes I keep a close eye on that because some automakers these days have a tendency like starting production and then the deliveries are like months and months and months later. All right, so we jump into the comments, questions, and whatnot.
All right, we did get some comments. Yeah, my audio is a little bit backgroundy. Sorry about
If
that.
you want to just click on them, I can read them out and do them. If
All
you want to
right.
contribute anything.
So that's about an Aventon bike. Dan O'Dowd is 62 years old. We shouldn't really focus on the age more than the idiocy. Oh, here's one. Fred, did you raise enough for your current lawsuit from Shailene? I don't think so. So
No,
everybody,
I haven't been pushing that too much lately, but I will actually just got my first date yesterday for when I'm gonna appear in court. It's gonna be in November, so I still have some time to figure this all out. But yeah, I'm gonna keep you guys updated on how this is gonna happen. If you do want to contribute, especially if you want to share, I'm not even asking for money here. If you can just share the fundraiser page on GoFundMe because this is one of the only thing that I can share safely without be getting myself into more trouble. So like at least it pushed the story out there, which I think is an important part because no one is talking about this right now. But soon that will change. Soon that will change, and more coming down that soon. I cannot talk too much, but soon that will change. There will be more people talking about this, which I'm looking forward to because this is a wild story if you're not aware of it.
yeah. And if anybody's looking for a bit more info on that, it's it's a pinned tweet at the top of Fred's Twitter
Yeah,
account.
if you go on my Twitter, it's the pinned tweet. Yeah.
All right. Spike43 says, question, is it known if Supercharger network is profitable for Tesla? Their costs were so much lower, it would be scandalous to fund any other company to build out infrastructure when they are so bad. That's a good comment. I don't know that Tesla's Supercharger network is profitable. I don't think they aim to make money on it, and their build out is so like they're building out so much that I think I don't know. What do you think, Fred?
I mean, it depends how you look at it. It is an extremely profitable for them on the standpoint that it helps them sell cars like crazy. It's like the value is built into the cars basically because when you buy a Tesla, you buy access to the supercharger network on top of the actual cost for it. Now, if you don't consider that and you just consider the cost of deployment, the cost of operation and maintenance versus what Tesla gets from it purely from not the sale of their vehicles, but from the revenue per kilowatt hour or per charging time, the answer to that is most likely no. But it doesn't have to be right now. It will be with non-Tesla EVs because with non-Tesla EVs, Tesla cannot get anything from it from the vehicle selling standpoint. Maybe actually it's kind of a marketing kind of a marketing tool where non-Tesla EVs get to the Tesla superchargers and they get to talk with the Tesla owners or whatever. They're like, you know what? Maybe my next EV is gonna be a Tesla, whatever. I don't know. Maybe that has some value. But yeah, I think no one is making money off of like EVgo charge, well, maybe ChargePoint because of the different business model, but EA and all that, they're not making money off operating charging networks right now. That's going to come with scale and with higher utilization time, and but that's going to come at some point. It's just in the meantime you need to build a good experience and you need to reduce your costs, and I think Tesla is way ahead on both count right now.
All right. Let's move here. EA, so this isn't capitalized. EA came out so flashy and promising, but their maintenance and uptime is bad enough. It is making news in regular news sites.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, unfortunately, that as EVs go more mainstream, kind of the charging infrastructure issues are going to go more mainstream as well. I don't know what to tell EA, but like, it's real. Like there are real issues. All right, we'll move on a little bit. Dan Oberst, will SpaceX cell signal only be for T-Mobile, or will any 5G phone be able to use it?
I would assume only T-Mobile, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it's not 5G in the traditional sense, so it'll require special hardware, I think, in phones. It's also interesting that Apple's been rumored to do some space stuff. They already have kind of an SOS thing, and their iPhone announcement's coming in a few like 2 weeks. So maybe SpaceX and T-Mobile are trying to get out ahead of Apple announcing their own space stuff. All right. How will non-Teslas connect and pay for superchargers? You want to answer that?
I will non-Tesla connect and pay for non. Well, I mean, pay. They need a Tesla account. You have now the ability to create a Tesla account without being a Tesla owner, and you connect a credit card to that account, and you now all the superchargers are non-bird, and so when you go to a station, you're gonna just be able to. I'm at this station. I'm using this stall, and poop, you unlock it, and then it starts charging. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. So Gal Guapanti says Elon also said, "I do not doubt that criticism, public and private, is welcome. After we go to wide beta, why did you not talk about this comment?" Well, I think you did talk about that comment.
Well,
When
I
we were
mean, I
talking.
don't remember the specific of criticism, public or private, is welcome after we go to a wide beta. But my response to that would simply be why, like why that was good criticism. Period. Why would it be a problem? Like I think Elon just he got uh what's the word uh, you got hurt by that. Like, you asked me to be in the early beta and now you criticize it. Like, come on, like this is. I think if you wouldn't have asked for it, you would have like, all right, this is like fair criticism, whatever. Like, I don't think that before or after the water beta is the problem. Like, this is something that's on the road right now that people are experiencing. Like, you should be able to criticize it. Simple as that.
Yeah. All right. EQS will not qualify for the current credit once the president signed, unless you have a binding contract before he signed. So
Oh,
Rivian
yeah,
and
yeah, that's
other
right.
companies are doing that just to get.
Or
I mean,
we're
frankly,
doing it.
yeah, uh, if you can afford a $100,000 vehicle, you probably don't need the help. Rick Skinta question. Now that oh wait, I think last time he told us that we're pronouncing it wrong. Anyway, question. Now that Fisker is planning to start production and using Magna, who had built the BMW 5 Series, Z4, Toyota Supra, Mercedes G-Wagon, and also we should note the I-Pace, changed his opinion. I took the plunge. We knew Fisker was using Magna from the start. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't know if well, I mean, no, I think, well, it wasn't. We've been criticizing Fisker before they announced the Magna deal, but I'm still like, I'm still not completely on board with this idea. For Magna is not like, Fisker is gonna use more Magna parts than any vehicle ever built before. Like, this is basically like a Magna car that you're buying that is branded by Fisker, and Fisker has maybe some design aspect,
Marketing. Yeah.
like they have the design marketing service and all that. But it's not like, I don't know. Magna is a very serious company. Like, that's the point that Rick is making there. That's a completely fair point. But it's not made to build cars from the ground up completely, and that's not quite what they're doing with Fisker, but almost what they're doing with Fisker. So yeah. No, I still have massive doubt about the ability of Fisker to deliver, but I'd be pleasantly surprised if they do, if it works out and everything. But like you also need to trust Fisker with like servicing these vehicles and delivering, like managing all that at scale. Like this is a big deal. Uh, Good luck to them. Good luck to you if you actually. He says he took the plunge. He bought. He ordered one.
Yeah, I hope it works out for those people.
Yeah.
All right, question: do we know about the delivery numbers of Rivian's delivery vans? I was wondering whether it could give an indication on the capability to ramp production.
I don't think they break that down with the R1S and R1T, as far as I know. But they just officially started the program with Amazon before. Was it last month or in July that they started the official like deliveries with
But yeah, officially,
the
I mean, there were some prototypes running around.
yeah, it was like a test program before that. So I think that now it's gonna ramp up more. And yeah, I mean, I don't think you need to focus on the vans to look at the ramp up at Rivian. I think you look at the numbers; they're fine right now, and it hasn't been as much the issue of an actual volume ramp up of Rivian. They had a decent ramp technically. If you look quarter to quarter, they had a decent ramp. It's more of make that uh, turn the gross margin positive and reduce operating expenses. I think that's the main problem that we need to see from Rivian right now.
I
Fix.
agree
We
fully.
need to see fix. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
All right, Oliver Guarino, question: why is Tesla undercutting the Model 3 in numerous European countries by several thousands of euros, especially with the given backlog? Are they planning massive output on out of Berlin?
Yeah, that's oh, you got. That's a good question. I mean, everyone was surprised by this Model Y release today. I think, or the price at least of the release. I mean, Tesla is has more competition in Europe. I mean, I was just in Copenhagen. I mean, this is being in Copenhagen versus being in the U.S. I mean, now I'm back in New York, and like Tesla's everywhere, like just Tesla left and right, and not that much of anything else. I've seen like maybe like two Mach-es, and that's about it. But you go to Copenhagen, I was seeing EV6 everywhere, Ionic 5s, I was Renault Zoe, I was seeing a Audi e-tron, Mercedes EQC. I've seen everything. Uh, Going, we went from Copenhagen to Malmo in Sweden, and just EVs everywhere. It's a completely different market. So I think Tesla is trying to be more competitive there because they have more competition. So that's just fair. Um, but yeah, so I don't know. Maybe it's the blades. Maybe it's not just the LFP because the Model 3 standard range, of course, also LFP cells. Maybe the blades have truly like are very much cheaper, and Tesla is able to deliver the Model Y standard range for quite cheap. That's might be just the if it's truly the blades are in there. Again, so I'm not confirming that. I don't know for a fact.
All right, that's it for today. And the
All
questions.
right. Well, thanks everyone for listening to this week's episode. If you did like the show, please give us a thumbs up on your podcast app, or review if you're listening on iTunes or on Spotify. Seth, I was talking about the podcast to someone this week, and it was like, "Are you on Spotify?" I'm like, "I don't even know if we're on Spotify." I check out the Spotify. We're like
We're on Spotify.
super highly ranked on Spotify too, like a 4.9 stars. Like, appreciate everyone that gave us 5 star on that too. It's greatly appreciated. It helps the show more than you think, and algorithm and whatnot. And we're gonna see you same time, same place next week. Have a good one.